Thank you again for all your comments, and particularly to Will Pulford and to others who have taken me to task for my position on Nigel Farage. I'm afraid, I will point out, he thinks I'm wrong about this, and you keep on being wrong about it, which I suppose is very earnest of you. I will continue to be earnest because I think in this particular case, maybe I've not made my point clearly enough. That is wrong of me, absolutely. And I'll try and make it as clear as I possibly can. I think if I were offered business with Farage, I would run in the other direction, of course. But given the fact that Farage has got an account with Coutts, given the fact that during the last 10 or 15 years, Farage's account with Coutts has fallen below the sum that Coutts expects its customers to retain, they've got good reason why they should suspend the account. That would be an honest approach. I think there are two major issues in this story, and it's those two issues which I keep returning to, and I think people overlook what I'm saying, or maybe I'm mumbling what I'm saying. The first is that Alison Rose, or somebody, briefed the BBC. Somebody from Coutts briefed the BBC, telling the BBC that Farage's account was being cancelled because he had fallen below the financial threshold. That is indiscreet. And a bank of the quality of Coutts should never be so indiscreet. That alone requires a grovelling apology to the point where Coutts should restore the account as part of that apology, as well as paying significant reparatory compensation. The second issue is that Coutts told Farage that they had cancelled the account because he had fallen below the threshold. They went on to explain this was because he had paid off his mortgage and therefore the house was no longer theirs to repossess should they want to. And therefore the whole sum of Farage's property and money fell below the financial threshold that they would like their customers to retain. But they said that to him, but then he managed to get a report making it quite clear that they had done some sort of background dirty on him, saying that his views were inappropriate and that he had shifty friends and so on. And that document alone, again, demonstrates that they were being disingenuous. So it's the lies rather than the banking criteria. So I may have personal views which the bank doesn't like, and that may be perfectly reasonable for the bank to then say, okay, we don't want you. That goes against the European law, which was then brought into our law in 2015. That law has not been repealed. So that would alone make it irresponsible. So that document alone is unacceptable. And why are they keeping that document if that document retains information which is irrelevant, because they can't stop an account because of what a person believes or because of his friends? That isn't possible. So why have they got that document? So that would be important. And as for whether or not as a business I can choose to serve somebody or not to serve somebody, well, again, if I'm a private business, yes, that's fine. But unfortunately, Coutts is part of NatWest. NatWest is part of a public company. NatWest doesn't have that. Coutts and NatWest do not have that freedom to act so in such a cavalier way to their customers, because they are part of a public institution, and the government has shares in Coutts. So those are the reasons, and I think Farage has a very very good grounds for demanding that his bank account is restored and that he is given significant compensation, which might well bring him up to the level of the level of money that he needs in order to qualify for a Coutts account in the first place. Now, there are other issues. The EU law says David Hollins 870 points out that the EU law simply says that we can't be without an account, not that we can demand an elite account, but the Coutts people have only offered Farage a personal account in NatWest. They haven't offered him a business account, and he should be offered both. And actually, at this moment now, I think it's gone beyond the point where he's offered accounts in an ordinary bank. He should be offered what he originally had, because that bank has proven to be duplicitous. Would I want to go back to a bank that's proven to be duplicitous? No, I wouldn't, but I'm sure Mr. Farage has an entirely different moral view. And now, if he were to take the bank to court, which I'm sure the bank is longing for him to do, then you're right. All the dealings that he's had over the years with various people would then be on public show. But I don't think he should take the bank to court on the basis of the PEP issue, though I imagine it'd be very difficult to keep him quiet on that matter. I think he should simply take the bank to court on the basis of the bank lying and being indiscreet. The bank's first duty is to be discreet. However, the various laws which have come in nationally and internationally, which require a bank to probe into a customer's finances, have meant that idea of discretion has pretty well gone out of the window. But it is still in the in banking law, LORE rather than LAW, and in the image that a bank likes to give to its potential clients and customers. So either the bank needs to come clean and say, we are no longer an organization that specializes in confidential relationships, or it needs to say, well, we do, and we got that wrong. The Alison Rose, her disingenuous and rather creepy letter, which says nobody should have to read that about themselves. Well, for goodness sake, Mr. Farage reads and hears it every day. It's normal for Farage to hear himself being ridiculed in public, but perhaps not by his bank, and therefore that then requires compensation and a clear statement that that is wrong. And the only clear statement that I can see that Alison Rose and her friends could possibly make is that his bank account is restored to him. I'm staggered that someone who is left-leaning is backing an establishment clown demanding an elite account while hiving money offshore. Talk about NADS. Right, first of all, I don't think I am left-leaning, though I am probably to the left of the Conservative Party. I think the party that I belong to has left me, so I am left party-less. I remember talking to Piers Corbyn and pointing out that in many issues, yes, I'm to the left of his brother. But that doesn't make me somebody who is, quote, left-leaning. I think I am right-leaning, but I sometimes find myself expressing left-leaning concepts. Backing an establishment clown, I don't back an establishment clown because he's there. I back anybody who I think is right. And if an establishment clown happens to be right, I will back him. I'm not so much backing Farage here, I'm just attacking Coutts. And hiving money offshore, we don't know that. So I think that would be an inappropriate thing to insist on. Talk about NADS. Well, yeah, and if NADS also were in a position where her account were being removed from her because of the things she says, and if the bank were to lie to her about why it was doing that, I would back Nadine Dorries to the hilt. And yes, I know that in the internet world, that makes me look as if I am inauthentic, as if I am hypocritical, as if I am not consistent, as if I'm sitting on the fence. Well, the world is like that. And sometimes you find yourself supporting people that you don't agree with simply because there is an underlying principle. That underlying principle is confidentiality and honesty. And those things Coutts has failed to deliver.